Hey, so I've been making a lot of Saw videos lately, if you hadn't noticed. Sorry about that, but there's more coming. There's this one anyway. Yeah, so I was kind of putting this off. I actually originally planned on not doing it, even though it crossed my mind. But I don't know. Here we are. My Spiral video got heaps of views and whatever, and let's do it, shall we? Let's rank every single Saw trap in every single Saw film. And this is based by brutality and creativity, as well as just the ones I like, okay? So before you be like, but this one has more blood, but this one has more whatever. Forget about it. In the end, this is my list, baby. But first, I just want to set some ground rules, okay? Because it actually is a little bit confusing as to what is and what isn't a Saw trap. Okay, so for me, what I've got listed out here, they've come to 59 Saw traps in all of the Saw films. As my count goes, there are 59 traps, but I do not count things that are attacks or like retaliation type of things. Like there is the part in the first Saw where Jigsaw slashes Tap's throat. That's not a trap, that's just an attack. There are also booby traps, like in the first one, Singh gets shotgunned. There's like 4 or 5 shotguns or something, and bang, he gets blown away. That is more a booby trap than a Saw trap, if you ask me. Now, I also, for research of this stuff, to try and make sure I didn't miss any, some of the other ones included other things such as the poisonous gas house in Saw 2. For me, I've left things like that out where it's a big trap with little traps in there. I'm only counting the little singular traps. So I'm not counting like the giant all together thing that is like 6 or 7 traps in one, if that makes sense. So the Saw 2 house doesn't count, but things like obviously the infamous needle pit will be in there, even though that's in the Saw house of that trap, if that makes sense. I'm also not including things that are people's tests, where if it's something like Jeff's test, or it's something like the insurance guy's trial from number 6, I forgot his name, or Riggs' test from Saw 4, those sorts of things don't count, where it's like lots of little things going in one. More so, I'll be counting the actual things, the traps that Jeff comes into overall in his test, okay? Does that make sense? So I'm just gonna count down now the things that don't count, so I don't get any comments being like, what about this? And then we'll get right to it, okay? So Singh's shotgun alley thing doesn't count. Saw 2's poisonous house doesn't count. Jeff's test, Zepp's test, Amanda's test, Riggs' test don't count. William's trial, that's his name, the insurance guy, doesn't count. The minigun trap from Saw 7 where Hoffman set up a gun to blow out a bunch of cops doesn't count. Bobby's trial doesn't count. The exploding doll that gets Strum and the woman detective's name, I forgot her name, and blows up in their faces doesn't count. The electrified staircase from Saw 2 doesn't count. The pain train from Jill's dream, that's a dream sequence, so it didn't actually happen, not in the canon, doesn't count. The Edgar Munson trap, which is the guy at the start of Jigsaw who gets his hand shot off by the police, that doesn't count. Eric Matthews breaking his foot in Saw 3 when he's captured. Hoffman's right now you are feeling helpless scene.
Right now you're feeling helpless.
As awesome as it is, as much as it pains me to not have that in there, that's not a trap, that's just a fight scene. Any of the pig mask attack scenes as well, similar deal, where they like sneak up on somebody and take them to a trap, where they get taken to as a trap, but that attack itself ain't a trap. All of those are not traps, okay? There are a few more that I was a little bit unsure about if I should count them as a test or not. You'll see when I get to them. But some of them I've counted. If they have a name, they're counted. And if they have instructions or a tape or a video playing where Jigsaw's like, hello, you have to do this and whatever, those are always traps in my mind, okay? These are my definitions of what traps are. And if you disagree, soz, but that's what we're doing here. Now that we've got that cleared out of the way, fucking hell, let's get to the actual list. And I'm going to try and make this not be too long, but there are 59 of them that I've counted. I might have missed 1 or 2, whatever. I hope not. I tried to do the research to find them. But yeah, let's do it. Okay, so number 59 is the impalement wheel from Saw 7. And this is the one where the main character, Bobby, has to lift something up, and then it kind of stabs him in the sides when he does lift it up. And then it stabs him in the sides, and he's helping somebody get out of a trap. But he fails, and the person gets like pipes banged right into their eyes, and they die. I have this as my very least favorite one because I honestly forgot that it existed entirely. I watched the scene this morning when I was doing this list and everything, and it doesn't look familiar. I don't remember it even when I was looking at it. I wasn't like, oh yeah, this one. I was just like, this may as well not exist. Next up is 58, and this is the drill chair from the first one. This is where Detectives Sing and Tap are trying to apprehend Jigsaw, and there's just some random bald guy in there. He kind of looks like the dude who voices Homer Simpson. But this is like not very focused on. It's not really that much of a trap, but it's there. So yeah, 58, not that great. Then 57 is Hoffman's flashback gun chair. This is the flashback scene where Jigsaw and Hoffman actually kind of meet for the first time, where they're in the elevator and then he captures him and tries to recruit him. This is just kind of brief and doesn't really amount to much. It's more of a story thing than like it is an actual trap thing. So yeah. Then 56 is the suspended cage that Bobby wakes up in at the start of Saw 7, and there are spikes underneath him. It's whatever. This isn't exactly a trap either. It kind of is. He has to swing and jump out and whatever, but it's not that exciting when it comes to the elaborate craziness of Saw traps. You know, it's pretty bare bones. 55 is the wisdom teeth trap. There's going to be a lot from Saw 7 here. This is the one where the protagonist Bobby has to pull out his own teeth because they've got a number on them and everything. It's kind of forgettable. It's not really that elaborate or anything. It's whatever. 54 is the Lawnmower Trap. Okay, this one, it pains me to not have a bit higher because like I kind of love it. It's such a stupid premise, but we barely see it. If you remember, it's two people hanging from some sort of pipe or whatever, and there's like 100 fucking lawnmowers under them, like upside down, obviously with the blades up, and they're gonna die and whatever. Anyway, one of them slaps them off and the other falls in and explodes in blood, basically. It's kind of fantastic, but we don't see much of it. And then number 53 is the hot wax trap from Spiral. I was pretty disappointed in some of the traps from Spiral. This one relied on CGI and stuff. It looked a little bit silly. It just wasn't that effective to me. I didn't really love it. And you couldn't really tell what was going on, and if she was dying at one point, it was a bit weird like that. And also, it felt very cruel. Like, to get out of it, she had to literally paralyze her entire body. I know this is Saw, and we want it to be brutal and stuff, but like, I don't know. This one just felt particularly mean-spirited to me, and I'm like, man, I don't really want to be like, she's gonna get paralyzed. Like, that's not fun. Make her cut her arms off or some shit. I know that doesn't sound much better, but just to me, I don't know. It felt exploitive of, like, paralyzed people. Anyway, and then number 52 is the hangman scene, the hangman trap. Again, from Saw 7. This is the kind of platform level that the main character has to go through. There is a blindfolded guy across the room where there is no floor. There's just a few pieces of board and stuff that he has to traverse to try and get to save him. And if he doesn't get there in time, the victim's gonna hang. And because of that, just because it's a hanging, like, that's kind of anticlimactic. I'm not into something where, like, people are just hanging. Like, come on, man. This is Saw. We want people to get their heads blown off and stuff. Hanging, that's no fun. Then next up at 51 is the hand trap from Saw 2. This is where the woman sticks both of her arms stupidly into the cube that is supposed to have the antidotes on either side, and instead of just putting one hand up and, like, you know, getting the blades gone because they're like inverse there, she just straight up puts both in there, doesn't think about anything at all, obviously gets stuck in there. And I hate this trap because it starts to dig into her wrist and it's ouchy to me. So props to this one for brutality, but it's not exactly that creative, and I just don't really enjoy watching it, and I find the character who does this to just be so dumb, which I know isn't that out of place when it comes to Saw films, okay? Some people make some dumb decisions, okay? That's gonna happen here, but just with this one in particular, I'm like, why would you just stick both hands in there? Come on. Number 50 is the pig vat trap from Saw 3. This is where pigs are getting slaughtered and whatever, and it's going all over the dude who's tied down to the floor, and he's gonna drown in, like, all the pig guts and stuff. This one's just not that brutal. Like, there's no I mean, I guess there's pig guts, but, like, there's no alive person human guts going on, so it's not as brutal. It's gross, but it's not as brutal, and I don't love this trap. Then there is 49, the necktie trap. This is the first trap from Saw 5 where, well, they've all got their necks tied and whatever. Yeah, they have to get closer and closer to a box with a key in it to get themselves out, but the key fits on every single one of them, which they don't know. So one person could have just gone ahead and helped every single one, but instead they're all fighting for it. And then there's like a blade here, and they get, if they get pulled back too much, decapitation. I mean, this one's like pretty good, but it's just like, it's nothing special in terms of Saw. Although it is one of the first group traps where they are all actually in a trap at the very same time, which was unique for, you know, this film. Then at 48 is the grain solo, where a bunch of grain and all this stuff are falling onto two of the victims, and this is in Jigsaw. Not only grain though, they're gonna like drown, is that the word, in the grain, but there's also a bunch of like pitchforks and I don't know, other random pieces of tools and shit like that that are all falling randomly and are gonna kill them. This one I feel like is too unpredictable to really be a fair trap, and it doesn't really, I just kind of don't vibe with that. I feel like it's just, yeah, it's a little bit too crazy. It's not quite as calculated as I like a Saw trap to be. So I'm not that overly impressed with this one. Then 47 is the electric bathtub from Saw 5. Much like the pig vat thing, there's just not a lot of like gore in this. Now, I will say, I've said before and I'll say it again, that the traps and the violence aren't what draws me into Saw. And this is true. I very much will repeat that on end forever. That being said though, there are a lot of traps here. Obviously, the films very much revolve around them, and there's a lot of creativity going on. You can't exactly just, you know, chuck them straight out, just be like, nah, nothing good about them. I do think there are good amounts of creativity in there. I do think that the films, you know, create this very good sense of suspense and tension throughout these traps. But with the electric bathtub, if I'm being too picky about the gore and violence and stuff, this one's just a little bit anticlimactic to me. Maybe that's just me. Then number 46 is the group hanging trap from Jigsaw. This is where, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. They're all getting hung up. It's okay. Then 45 is the Saw 2 peephole. Apparently it's called the Magnum Eye Hole. I kind of like the name of that, so I feel like it deserves a bit of a higher one just for the name. But this one isn't that much of a trap. It's literally just the one where the guy looks through the peephole and bang, gets shot through the eye. This one I feel like is unfair as well, because it's just a guy who doesn't really realize what's going on yet. Like this is at the very start of Saw 2. They haven't quite adjusted to riddles and shit yet. He's like, okay, I guess I'm gonna open this door. Now look, Jigsaw, sure, he does his little weird riddles and stuff, and he gives you clues to not do certain things, but if it were me, I would probably be a victim of this trap also, because I'm just an idiot, and I don't know. He'd be like, don't open the vessel to darkness, meaning the door or something, and I'd be like, what the fuck's the vessel to darkness? Alright, let's go through this door. I would just bang, die straight away. Then next up is the Brazen Bull from Saw 7. Now this one in particular is quite unpopular for being too cruel when it comes to Bobby's wife, because in this scenario, Saw 7 is about Bobby lying about being a Saw victim. He's written a book, he's gotten famous, rich and famous and all this stuff for being a Saw victim, even though he actually wasn't a real Jigsaw victim. And then obviously he gets put through the trials and stuff to prove that he really has what it takes and everything. The final trial here has his wife being on like this, I guess it's called a brazen bull? I don't exactly know. But she's on like an oven type of thing, and literally just gonna get roasted alive if Bobby cannot lift himself and stab himself through the pecs. And this trap, I mean, I like the kind of irony and what they're trying to do with the lying Bobby, being like, this is what you get for lying about this stuff. It's not that easy, is it, or whatever, to be in a Saw trap. But what ends up happening is his wife gets killed, and she didn't do anything wrong and doesn't deserve it. And if I remember correctly, she wasn't even aware that he was lying. And also the thing that makes this a little bit unfair, in my opinion, is that he is doing it, but his skin just breaks, and he can't help that. And I don't know. I don't love this trap. Apparently it's a fairly unpopular one, but I don't hate it because there is a bit of creativity there. You know, it's not completely just boring and bland. There is a lot of elements to it, so I can kind of appreciate it. So it gets kind of middle ground on this list. Then at number 43 is the laser collar from the end of Jigsaw. This one's just lame. Boo boo. This one's just like, it's just fake. I don't watch the end of Jigsaw and be like, wow, that guy's actually gonna get like cut up by lasers and stuff. Like, I'm watching it and I'm like, no, wow, that dude has like CGI around him. Like, it just doesn't look real. And like, the thing about Saw is that they're very, you know, low budget. They're very gritty, dark and gritty and ugly and shit and whatever. And just here, it looks a little too sci-fi fantasy to me. It just doesn't look particularly real. I just don't love lasers being in Saw. It just doesn't really fit into me. But it did pique my curiosity to see what they would look like, getting their heads literally in all ways cut up by a laser. When the dude's head flowers out like that, I mean, it's kind of cool. And then next up is at number 42 is the freezer room trap from Saw 3. Not a big fan of this one just because, again, it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's a bit unfair. It's a bit unpredictable as to when the woman victim is going to die. And it looks like Jeff is actually really trying to help, but just can't reach the key. I'm not a big fan of this one. And yeah. Then next up at 41 is the furnace from Saw 2. This is where Ogie, I think is his name, just gets on up in there into basically an oven and just burns alive. And like, no thought, pretty much like the woman that puts her hands into the hand trap thing in Saw 2 as well. Saw 2 is just full of stupid characters. And I know Saw 2 is a particular fan favorite. A lot of people even say it's the best one. Some people do say that. And while I appreciate a lot about it, these stupid characters just shit me. I don't know why you just hops right into the fucking furnace. Come on, man. Then at number 40 is the scalping seat where the woman gets her scalp torn off.
And I want my scalp.
Pretty ouchy to look at. Pretty ouchy to look at. Then at number 39 is the finger trap from Spiral. I thought this one was a bit unfair. He had such a strict time restraint and it looked like he was really trying to pull his fingers off, but just couldn't do it in time. I mean, there just wasn't enough time. You need to give people more time. That being said, I did think the effects in this were like quite like gnarly. That's not a word I typically use, but like, I don't know. It looked pretty impressive if you ask me. And yeah. Then next up at 38 is the leg wires from Jigsaw, where literally I think it's like piano wires ties around the guy's leg that is through the floorboards because he stepped in the very wrong place. And Jesus Christ, it just looks painful. It just looks like such a bad situation to be in, and I just feel bad for the guy. I think that this scene is really intense and really well done, actually, and so yeah. But it's a pretty minor trap. There aren't like, you know, it's not a very big elaborate thing set out and everything, and it's kind of minor costs in a way. Like one guy's leg, you know, we've seen that from the very first Saw, so, you know, it's not as impressive as, you know, it's not as suspenseful as somebody who's about to get their head cut off, if that makes any sense. If I'm talking like in comparison to other Saw traps, like I don't want to get my leg cut off in real life. Trust me, do not want that. But when it comes to Saw stakes, just the leg? Easy. That's nothing. Then at 37 is the spike trap from Saw 4. This is where the husband and wife are like not together, tied together, whatever, and they've got the spikes going through both of their bodies. The husband's got him through like the arteries, which will kill him when they take the spikes out. The woman will be fine, and the husband did something wrong to the woman, and she has to like decide if she's going to kill him and get revenge and whatever. I don't remember the details to that except for the actual what's going on. The reasoning behind I've kind of forgotten. But apart from that, I feel like this trap is kind of interesting. Like, I like that it goes for something of a moral dilemma a little bit, but it acts like it's like this big choice that the woman has to make, but like, what's she gonna do? Of course you just... Like, yeah, it's gonna kill her husband, and that's like sad or good depending on the revenge that she wants. But like, you gotta get out of it. You gotta get out of it one day. I don't know, like, you're just gonna die otherwise. So it's not that much of a choice. That you just gotta. That's what you gotta do. Then number 36 is the reverse shotgun trap from Jigsaw. This one's just kind of a cool twist and everything, but it's not that memorable if you ask me. But I'm sure there are fans of it. Let me know if you are. Then 35 is Sam Jackson's blood draining trap from the end of Spiral. I think that this one visually looks pretty interesting, but it's a bit unclear on exactly the stakes about like when it comes to when exactly he's gonna die. But I really like the implications behind this trap and what it really means for the film itself. I love the ending of Spiral, apart from the one of the twists. I won't say too much about that. But yeah, I like it, but I don't love it.
I like it, but not a lot.
Then 34 is the pound of flesh scene from Saw 6. This is where the woman cuts off her arm and the other guy's just hacking himself away at his belly and stuff. Oh, yeah, I do not like watching that dude just have a hack and slash at himself. Just doesn't even look like he's looking where he's doing it. He's just go. Just, it's not a pleasant scene, but it's definitely a very intense scene. And yeah, it probably deserves to be on the middle to higher end of this ranking. Then at number 33 is the razor wire trap from the first Saw film. This is a fairly good trap, if not quite basic, but we just don't see enough of it. It's in fast forward, it's in a flashback. We don't really get to know the character who's in there, so there aren't really huge stakes for us. It's more just to tell us the type of things that Jigsaw does, as this is the first Saw and we are not well versed in Jigsaw yet. Same goes for number 32, which is the candle combination with the flammable oil jelly stuff all over the dude. Yeah, again, we just don't see enough of it, but this one is quite interesting and very like mean and dark, but in a fun kind of way. Like, there's no fucking way this guy's gonna get out of this. It's kind of a ridiculous ask for him to find the correct numbers out of everything that's going on around him in this very stressful situation. But I kind of like this test trap, whatever, but it's not that violent either. So yeah, number 32 seems right for that. Then at number 31, there's the See No Evil, Speak No Evil / the Mausoleum, whatever it's called. This is the one with the blind guy and the guy with his mouth sewn up. They can't see or talk to each other properly, so they can't communicate and get out of this and work together. So of course, while not trusting each other, especially the blind guy anyway, they kind of just have a fight to the death. That's not funny, why'd I laugh? But it's a fairly interesting trap. I like the idea of, like, I don't know, they're taking their senses away. There's something really dark about that and creative. Then at number 30 is the breathing room from Saw 6. I particularly like Saw 6, so there's going to be a few from Saw 6 up here. This one I feel like is a little bit unfair, but that's on purpose because it's all got to do with the insurance company thing that happens a bit later in the film, where you learn that, you know, there are some flaws when it comes to this protagonist, William from Saw 6. And so it really does go into the larger narrative of what the film is trying to say. And so when I'm watching it at first, I'm like, this isn't really fair. Like, that dude's a smoker. He's clearly not going to get out of this, but that's up to William, isn't it? And that's kind of what actually makes this quite interesting. Then number 29 is the public trap from the start of Saw 7, where everyone's outside, there's an audience there, and there's the girl who's about to get cut up from the saw, guys on either end pushing the saw towards each other. This one, I do kind of appreciate that it was going for something a bit different. You know, we had never seen daylight in a Saw film, basically. Barely, maybe in like 1 or 2 scenes in each film, maybe. Every single Saw film is like dark, underground, in warehouses and all this stuff. So it was kind of nice to see a daytime exterior scene. But with that being said, especially with Saw 7, but especially with the lighting of this scene, the pink blood, and if you've seen this, if you're a fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The pink blood just eradicates the tension. It makes it seem so much faker than it would have to be otherwise if it just looked better, redder, you know. The fake pink blood just looks terrible, and it really brings this one up to a higher or lower ranking, depending on how you look at it. A worse ranking, just because of that. It could have been better, but oh well. Then at number 28 is the bucket room from the start of Jigsaw. I kind of like this one, even though it's a total rehash of that one from Saw 5 that I was mentioning before. But yeah, I like it. I just like how this scene is directed. It looks interesting. I don't know. Then at number 27 is the Feel What I Feel trap, which is the one with the pedophile guy in the hotel room and everything's red, and he has to poke out his own eye so that all of his limbs don't get cut off. And then this one has kind of a certain sense of like, you're kind of on Jigsaw's side in this one, and that's something a little bit different. I mean, sometimes that is the case with these traps, but a lot of the time you're kind of rooting for the victim to get out of it. At least that's how I watch them. I don't know, maybe that's not how most people watch them, but with this one, there's a little bit of a sense of, well, yeah, I mean, that's what you get, but it's still very violent and cruel. But I do like that it also has a different look to it, like, you know, strong, bright reds and everything like that. Like, it's just something a little bit different than the ugly greens and everything that we get in a lot of the Saw films. It's alright. It's probably a pretty good trap if that's what you're into the Saw films for. Then at number 26 is Hoffman's bear trap. Now, this is a pretty good scene. I really enjoy it. But again, this is more plot focused rather than being an actual trap. This is just Jill trying to kill Hoffman, basically. So it's arguable that maybe it shouldn't actually count. I'll give you that if you think it shouldn't. And as well as the fact that Hoffman gets out of it anyway. But because of that, I kind of love it. Like, he gets the actual jaws or whatever of the bear trap stuck in the cage thing on the door or whatever it is, and cuts him a bit because he does it just in time and it rips a bunch of his face off, but he gets out of it. And that's how Saw 6 ends, and it's awesome. Okay, then number 25, top 25, is the acid room from Saw 6's ending. This one I don't love just because it's a little bit too elaborate. I didn't really understand it the first few times I saw it. But then once the twist happens and everything, and that's not their dad and husband like you assume, and he's the guy who got their dad and husband killed via his insurance choices, his career and everything. I kind of do like this. Like, it's a pretty interesting twist, but it's not the most clear trap as to what's physically happening. Like, he gets like melted and he gets like torn in half via melting, but like, I don't really understand where the acid's coming from. Maybe I'm dumb, but I've just never really understood the logistics of this one. But that shot of him fucking just melting away is just brutal stuff. So it probably deserves to be, you know, fairly high on the list when it comes to the brutality. Then at 24 is the explosive ceiling jars from Saw 5. I kind of just like this trap just because it lends into the entire narrative of Saw 5 where this group can work together but don't figure that out. And I like this one because this one kind of does start to give it away, because you're like, there's heaps of room in those tunnels. Like, I remember thinking that when I was watching it, but I never thought that they had to work together. I just thought, if you did squeeze your way in, you probably could have survived. But I thought that was cheating, but it turns out that's what they were supposed to do. I kind of like that. Then at number 23 is the knife chair. This is the flashback with Cecil, and he has to like push his face through a series of knives in order for the chair to like collapse and he can get out of it. This one, oh man, I don't like it. I don't like watching him do it. But this trap though is kind of interesting just because it's a little bit more flashbacks for Jigsaw even after his death, which I love that this series continuously does. It's just interesting because it's Jigsaw's first trap that he ever does. So it's a bit wonky. It doesn't work exactly how he wants it to work. He doesn't quite know what he's doing yet. And I do like seeing this pivotal moment in the killer's, you know, timeline. And so that makes this trap a little bit elevated to me, even if the trap itself isn't that fantastic. It's just a good scene. Then at number 22 is the train trap from the start of Spiral, where the guy's sticking his tongue through a thing and he has to rip it off, otherwise a train's gonna get him. Now, this one I like because it is over the top, absolutely ridiculous, and it's just, I like it. It got me in the mood when I was watching Spiral for another Saw film. Even though the movie did end up disappointing me a bit, I'm like, fuck yeah, this is pretty cool. One thing I will say though is that when he does get hit by the train, I just feel bad for the train driver. He didn't do anything wrong to deserve this, you know? And now he's going to blame himself forever. He's going to have a hard time. This is going to scar him for life. And you know what's going to end up happening? He's not going to appreciate his life. He's just going to be like, I killed somebody. And then he's going to get put in a fucking saw trap because of it. It's the circle of life. It's just the natural circle of life. Then at number 21 is the classroom trap. This is the one from, I think it's Saw 3 or 4. I actually am not sure which one. And it's the one where the guy has to pull the hooks out. Yeah, and this one, as we learn later on, is rigged because I believe it was Hoffman that was behind this one. And it's just absolutely gross. It's just not an enjoyable watch, but it's definitely an intense watch and well done. But then when he gets to the ring that's like stuck through his jaw, oh man, and then he blows up anyway. After all the work he does to get these hooks out of him, he fucking blows up anyway. And then Hoffman, of course, says the thing when he's with all the cops where he's like, all he had to do was pull out to the hooks. And then someone's like, all he had to do? What the fuck are you talking about? All he had to do. You do it. As we know, though, Hoffman's the jigsaw apprentice or whatever you call it. So, you know, it does make sense, but I always found that line kind of hilarious. And then at number 20, top 20, is the horsepower group trap. This is from Saw 7. This is the one with Chester Bennington, the singer from Linkin Park. Was passed away. Oh man, I love that last album. And he's in a trap where he has to like pretty much rip his entire skin off of his back as he's stuck to a car chair. And if he doesn't, his foot's gonna get landed on the accelerator. It's gonna run somebody over. It's gonna hit somebody else. A bunch of things happen. The tire just, I think, explodes somebody's head or something. It's super elaborate. It's a great group kind of trap thing. There's a lot of stakes here. I think there's like 4 or 5 people that get killed in this one. It's not fun, but it's fun. You know what I mean? When it comes to these things, like, this one's definitely one of the most explosive traps kind of the entire series. And so, yeah, there's high stakes and it's exciting and it's definitely very memorable. Then at number 19 is the 10 pints of sacrifice from Saw 5. This is the last trap that they go through when there's just 2 of the 5 people left and they have to stick their fucking hands into the saw to get 10 pints of blood. Now, if all of the group was still there, it would only be, what's math? 2 pints of blood each. But now they have to do 5 instead. And basically, that's going to kill him. And then there's that horrible shot after they've done it where the guy's like, we did it. And he lifts his arm and like his arm down to his fucking wrist is just split open and just... That dude ain't surviving, that's all I'm saying. Then at number 18 is the steam maze. Now this one in particular, this is from Saw 6. This one in particular isn't that violent in terms of blood and guts, but it does have this big kind of elaborate setup to it. This one feels like it's kind of like a video game or something. As we're watching the main character make his way through this maze and everything, trying to help everybody in his path. He's trying to just traverse this fucking torture chamber of cages and getting burnt and everything, and it's just good. This is what Saw can and should be, I think. Yeah, I do enjoy, not enjoy, that's the wrong word, but I do think this is a very well done trap. Then at number 17 is the water cube. This is the one where Hoffman has caught Detective Strahm and he's got him in literally a cube with water in it and he's just going to drown. This one's rigged, can't get out of it, and he's just going to die. But he does it anyway. He gets out. Somehow he survives. He sticks a pen through his neck and I don't know what the word is called, but air comes through your neck somehow. If you pierce in the right place, you can breathe through it. Oh man. See, Saw just, as a young go-getter, Saw was teaching me lots of medical things. Don't learn medical things off of the Saw films, please. But I really like the look of this trap. It's very cinematic. I love the kind of zoom out thing when he first wakes up. It's just a completely dark room. The only thing that's light is his face in the box. I really just like how that looks and everything. It's a very visually interesting trap. Then at number 16 is the glass grinder from Spiral. This is where literally there's like a glass recycling plant, I guess, and it's all getting crushed up and stuff, and then projected out of this big machine and whatever into a guy basically, and Chris Rock has to try and help him and whatever, but he takes his sweet ass fucking time, oh my god, and he obviously doesn't help him in time. He's getting all split up, and it's particularly brutal. I was like, this one, I was like, holy shit, this is like actually horrible. Yeah, this was one that I thought was really effective in Spiral, even if I didn't love that film. This is a fairly good trap, I think. But one thing that I have an issue with, or not an issue with, but I think that's funny, is that Chris Rock, like, as he's trying, he actually finally decides to try and help the victim, and he gets cut up by, like, some of the glass that's coming off the side and whatever, and he's like, ow, like, he's like acting like it's the worst thing ever. The other dude is literally getting fucking pelted throughout his entire body, man. get through it. Jeez. I'm not saying it would be easy. I'm sure I would just be crying. I'm sure I wouldn't be able to do it either. I would not do well in a saw trap, okay? Not saying I would. But I'm just saying, I thought it was kind of funny how, like, he just got, like, a few in like, his arm or something, and the other guy's just, like, the entire body's getting fucking torn apart by glass. Then next up at number 15 is the spiral trap from Jigsaw. This is where the motorbike is set up to start the spiral, I suppose you'd call it. This one's super intense, but it does have that bit of artificial kind of feel to it, like these last two in Jigsaw and Spiral do. It doesn't feel particularly believable. It's a bit, you know, CGI reliant and all that kind of stuff, but it definitely is creative. So I feel like it does deserve quite a high spot, so here it is at number 15. Then number 14 is Jill's bear trap. I enjoy this one just because after all the build-ups throughout the Saw series, you know, the bear trap, the reverse bear trap is iconic, you know? But at this point in the series, we'd never actually seen anybody die from it. Unbelievable, isn't it? But everybody has survived, you know? Amanda in the first one survived, and then Hoffman in number 6 survived at that very end, getting part of his jaw ripped off. But yeah, finally, we actually see what happens when a person's head is actually in one of these reverse bear traps. And it's sad to see that it's Jill and whatever. I mean, I won't pretend that I'm like absolutely in love with this character. It's my favorite character or anything, but like, you know, it's a good character, I suppose. But it was definitely kind of like intriguing to finally see what this actually looks like when somebody gets killed by one. And so yeah, it's this high up just because that's such an iconic actual trap. And we actually see the repercussions. Then number 13 is the silent circle, it's called. This is the one where the girl has to pull out like a fishing hook out of her throat. Oh my god. And obviously it's curved just in the wrong way so that it's gonna like cut up in a fucking throat. Oh man, this one's horrible. Oh man, I don't enjoy this one. But even worse than just this trap, she can't make a sound. If she screams, the drills or whatever it is get closer and closer to just killing her. And oh my god, it's horrible. Yeah, no, definitely have sympathy for this woman in this trap. This is a horrible, horrible trap. And then I'm pretty sure she gets killed anyway, doesn't she? If I remember correctly. God damn, it's not an easy watch, that trap. Then at number 12 is the reverse bear trap from the first film, Amanda's reverse bear trap. I know, this one's iconic, and you're probably like, this deserves to be top spot, and I respect that. I understand why you would think that, and I, to an extent, agree. I can see an argument for it being top spot. But there are just issues with it for me, like the fact that Jigsaw kind of has some inconsistency with his morals here, where, you know, Amanda's got to kill this dude who's just there, barely conscious, and he doesn't get a chance. He doesn't get to survive. You know, he doesn't get a chance to test himself and fight to survive and whatever. He just gets killed. And I feel like that's not exactly in Jigsaw's taste, exactly. Even though this is from the very first film, which establishes who he is as a character. But it's definitely very iconic. I love the way that it's shot. James Wan and Lee Winnell, you know, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I absolutely love these guys. And they nailed it. And I love this. It will never leave my mind. But it's not my favorite trap, okay? If we're talking about traps, even though Saw 1 is definitely my favorite film, they don't have my favorite traps, okay? Then at number 11 is the needle pit from Saw 2. Another Amanda trap here, where literally she's thrown into the needle pit. This is going to be another controversial take, I know, because this is probably, if you're a Saw fan, it could easily be your very favorite trap. And I understand they did a great job with like prosthetics and effects and all this stuff. It's a very impressive scene. I just don't have that much of an issue with needles, and so it didn't bother me as much as a lot of other people who have a real problem with needles. Now, I know being thrown into a needle pit is gonna fucking hurt, okay? That's a bit different from just one needle. I understand. But just, this one's never bothered me quite as much as it seems to bother most people, even if it is horrible. You know, it's still number 11. It's still quite horrible. It's not like I'm watching it like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna eat breakfast and watch this because this is just pleasant. No, it's horrible, but like, I don't know. I don't absolutely love this trap as much as other people, but it's definitely iconic and it definitely deserves to be. Then at number 10 is the angel wing trap from Saw 3. This is where she has this thing stuck to her rib cage. She has to put her hand into a bunch of acid to get the key out in order to get out of it and everything. But she does get it, and her hand's all caught up, but it doesn't work. It doesn't let her out, and the thing opens up and it just tears her entire chest open entirely. It's horrible. It's mean. I'm pretty sure Amanda is the one that set this one up to rig it to be unfair, and that definitely makes this trap memorable and horrible. But I will say what I like about this trap is just how it's shot visually in terms of having the green highlight behind her and everything. It's just very visually pleasing. Pleasing isn't the right word. Nothing in Saw is visually pleasing. Come on, what the hell am I talking about? But I just thought this was a well-directed trap scene. Then at number 9 is the shotgun collar from Saw 3. This is with Lynn, who has to help Jigsaw throughout all of Saw 3 with literally what it sounds like, a collar around her that is shotgun shells that are going to go off if she fails the trap, and if her husband fails the trap as well, Jeff, who does end up failing the trap, kills Jigsaw, and in return, this kills her. And you don't really see it happen, but you see the repercussions of just her head, her body just, her head's just gone. It's just blood and guts and just, man. At least it would be a quick death, I can say that. But I just think the idea of it is creative and cool and horrible. Horrible. Then at number 8 is the Venus flytrap. This is what I like to call the eyeball one from the start of Saw 2. This one I absolutely love. I think it's iconic, but I do think it's unfair. Much like the one with the finger trap, I feel like he doesn't have enough time. You gotta cut into your eye. Come on, John Kramer. That's a tall order, man. That's a hard ask, you know? Like, he was trying, he was getting it, but he only had, I think, 60 seconds. Cutting into your own eye, you need a little bit more, you know, time to gain up that courage. Anyway, ends up him dying, and then the thing closes on him, and the spikes, I guess, stab him in the face and everything, and he dies. And that's how Saw 2 starts, just to really set the mood, and it does it well. Then at number 7 is the pendulum from Saw 5. This is one of Hoffman's unfair traps where the victim can't actually get out of it, and so I feel like it shouldn't be in the top 10 because it is unfair and everything, but, well, I already did the angel wing one as well, and that was unfair as well. But this one though, it's just such a cool throwback. It's kind of like gothic or something, and it's particularly brutal as well. It's just really bad. This one's really bad. You see like the guts going everywhere and stuff. But it's good. Then at number 6 is the gallows. This is the one where the main character from 6, William, I believe was his name, right? Has to choose between the young go-getter, but who is a stranger, he doesn't know him, or the old woman who is familiar to him. She's a co-worker to him or something like that. So he has to choose which one of them dies. And in this one, it's not quite that elaborate in terms of gore. It's again just somebody hanging. But I love this kind of social dilemma. You know, which one should you choose? You know, you shouldn't have to choose. It's a horrible decision, but it's a really interesting one to kind of explore as to what is the right thing to do, what is just evil. You know, like, do you get the young guy because he has more to live for? He has more of a life going on. Or do you choose the old lady because you know her? You don't want to kill somebody that you know. But is that, you know, it shouldn't make a difference if you know him or not because this is a person's life. It's a great moral dilemma, and it's really just an elevated kind of exercise in terms of the trolley problem. A little bit. It's kind of similar to that, and I like thinking about the philosophy behind that kind of thing. Then at number 5 is the ice block crush thing that kills Eric Matthews at the end of Saw 4. This one is probably the most explosive trap, I suppose. It's like epic. This one's just epic. It's not really that... it's violent in terms of like seeing somebody's head get completely crushed, but like it's not that graphic in a way. Like it's kind of zoomed out. It's a bit far away and everything. You're not seeing itty bitty gritty details and whatever. Like, yeah, you just see... it just explodes. And it's just epic. I don't know. I feel like it deserves quite a high spot. Then at number 4 is the rack. Man, the rack is probably the most brutal trap in all of Saw. It is horrible stuff. It is, as you would know if you're a Saw fan and you've watched this far into the video. A guy pretty much set out with his arms and legs kind of, what's the word? Like, out. Like a star pose. Whatever the word is. Anyway, one by one, his limbs twist and twist and twist until they are just not limbs anymore, basically. And my God, you see the bones snap. You see just... oh, this is... Mamma mia! Not a spicy meatball. This one's ouchy to look at, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. This is a horrible one. It's one of Jigsaw's favorite traps, supposedly, even though he's a responsible guy doing his tests, right? Come on, you're a sick bastard, Jigsaw, we all know it. Then at number 3 is the glass box trap from the end of Saw 5. This is where Hoffman tricks Strahm into letting him get into the box, thinking that that's going to be some sort of horrible trap. But really, what ends up happening is that gets lowered with Hoffman in it into the floor, and the walls start coming in right around to crush Strahm. It's a brilliant ending. It's a great twist. I really enjoy watching just the victory of Hoffman as he watches. Like, he just knows he fucking got him. It's just enjoyable. I really like the rivalry between them. So it's a bit sad that it ends here, but it does end on a very high note. Then at number 2 is the Saw bathroom. I believe it's called the shit room. According to some fans I saw on like the wiki and whatever. But yeah, this is just the main all of Saw basically plot with Adam and Gordon in there. It's definitely a very different type of trap than what we see in the rest of the series. I feel like it kind of doesn't even count a little bit. Like, it's just so different. It's so drawn out. It's like, you know, it's not like you have a minute to cut out your own eyeballs, Gordon. Come on, hurry up. No, he has like all day to think about it, to like, there's a lot of plot going on instead of actual just blood and guts and stuff. But it's the best one. I can't like say that it's not. I just can't. Like, it's so good. Apart from one, there's one more that I think is better. But yeah, the Saw bathroom from the first Saw film, it's just amazing. And then number 1, okay? Are we ready for this? Number one is the best one. It's the carousel from Saw 6. I love the carousel scene from Saw 6. Very much like the gallows one that I just mentioned before. Very much about choosing what the right thing to do is. And there is no easy answer. There is no right answer at all. This is horrible. I do have kind of some problems with the fact that, you know, 6 of 8 people have to die and they don't really get to fight for themselves to survive. It's in somebody else's hands, so it's not exactly fair. But I'll let it slide because I'm pretty sure this one is a Hoffman trap. So I think it's okay. But I just love the dark twist to this where it's just this, you just can't choose. You just can't do the right thing here. And like, I just love the dynamic of the people turning around and everything, and they're all pleading. They're like, please, I've got a family. Please, we know each other. Please, I'll give you money or whatever they say. Just any kind of advantage, you know, level up that they can get against the other people around them, they will do. But then, you know, once it's kind of decided which ones are going to live and everything, once they realize that, oh, the shotgun's set up on me, that's going to get me, how quickly they turn. And there's that one guy in particular who's just like, you fucking bastard and whatever. And like, it's just, the guy didn't do anything wrong though, and it's so understandable why he reacts that way. Of course he'd act that way. Oh man, there's not anything that's nice about this, but it's brilliant. I think it's so good. And I really, I think it is the best trap in every Saw film, if you ask me. It's so memorable to me. It's so visually iconic to me. And the carousel. Give it a round of applause because, yeah, man, the carousel is so good. I love it. And that's it. Those are my Saw trap rankings. Do you agree? Do you disagree? All that stuff. Do you have things that you would count as a trap that I didn't count as a trap, or vice versa, where I did count as a trap and you're like, come on, that doesn't really count? If so, yeah, let me know on all that stuff and whatever. And then also, as you know, if you watch my channel, and if you don't, if you're a newcomer, I'm just going to let you know, do the things. You can do the things that all of the YouTubers say, which are like and comment and share and subscribe, okay? We all say it, just do them. Do the things. And gonna get out of here, gonna ski-daddle. Thanks for watching this one.